Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblywoman Hadigi. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Yeager. Chairman Moreno.
And I am here. Will you please mark Assemblyman Hafen present as he arrives? Everyone remember to turn off or mute your electronic devices. Members will be using their laptops to follow along with exhibits during the presentations. If you would like to call in today to provide public comment, please dial 888-475-4499. Our meeting ID for the day is 8799358353, and then press pound. We do have a pretty lengthy agenda. I'll remind everyone that if we look at the bottom of our agenda, it does say that there's work sessions that we will be doing. They may not always be on the agenda, but if we have time and availability, we will be work sessioning bills as we go along. We're at the end of the legislative session, and so our schedules will be fluid. Some days we'll get through an entire calendar. Some days we may have to take a recess and come back, so I'll just warn you all of that now. And we will not always be taking things in the order that they appear on the calendar. That's a lot. So, with that, we will start with the first bill on our calendar for the day, and that is Assembly Bill 112, which establishes provisions relating to wildlife crossings, and invite Assemblyman Watts to the table.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Howard Watts, representing Assembly District 15 in Clark County. Thank you for hearing Assembly Bill 112 today. What Assembly Bill 112 seeks to do is set up a dedicated fund to support the development and construction of wildlife crossings in this state. These crossings have multiple benefits, not only to reconnecting and strengthening wildlife crossing corridors, but also to safety on our roadways by providing routes to go over or under our roads, reducing vehicle collisions. As presented to you today, the bill calls for a $15 million general fund appropriation. You should have a conceptual amendment to reduce that general fund appropriation to $5 million. There are no other fiscal notes on the bill, so this is the fiscal impact, the appropriation for this account. And I'll just speak very briefly to why that is important. So the federal government, in its recent infrastructure legislation, created a $350 million wildlife crossing pilot program. That is a competitive grant process. Thankfully, much of the policy and the activities that this fund can be used for, all of that aligns with helping position Nevada to apply for and hopefully secure funds from that account. As a transportation program, normally these projects would have an 80-20 match. So the federal government would cover 80% of these projects, which a crossing can cost a couple of $1 million, potentially more, depending on its scope and what's involved. Normally we'd be looking at leveraging this $5 million for $20 million in federal funds. However, because of Nevada's high share of public lands, we actually get roughly a 95-5 match from the federal government for these types of programs. So this $5 million could leverage $95 million in federal funding for projects that improve public safety and benefit the wildlife of our state. Now, again, with a $350 million pot across the country, I'm not going to guarantee that we're going to get all of that from this pilot program, but there are other formula and grant programs that could be utilized and matched to this money to work on this issue. So And again, we'll see financial benefits, not necessarily to the state, but to the state budget, but to the state overall, in reduction in injuries, deaths, vehicle repairs, insurance costs, collision response and cleanup, and the value of wildlife that are lost in these collisions. So with that, that concludes my presentation on the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you so much. So what I hear you saying that you really didn't say, but you kind of said it, was that we should amend due pass and get this done fast before other states put in for the money so we get our full 95%. Is that what I heard you say?
Howard Watts for the record. Yes, is the short answer. Just to provide a little bit of extra background, so there are going to be a few rounds of this funding. I think the first application either opens or closes in August. So yes, we want to be ready, and I didn't get into that, but several other states, including neighboring western states, have been setting aside funds and trying to set up programs to be able to compete for these dollars. So I do not want us to leave to be at a competitive disadvantage when it comes to this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, questions? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you for this bill. I like this bill. I think it's really great, and during their hearing, I'm very much supportive of it. My question is, the 15 million down to the 5 million, that's a big drop. Is that because we can still do the same amount of work because we're going to supplement it with the federal funds now, or did you just reduce it just because it was a large ask?
Howard Watts for the record. Thank you for that question, Assemblywoman Kasama. I think twofold. One was when the notice of funding opportunity came out and it confirmed that we would have this pretty significant match, I felt like $5 million would still get us a long way in developing and implementing these projects across the state. But additionally, I know that there are many, many needs that we are going to hear increasingly throughout the next couple of weeks that are deserving of funding. And so that's the other reason why we reduced that down, so that hopefully we can support this program to be very successful and support other much needed investments as well.
Members, any other questions? Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as someone who has hit many deer, wrecked many cars in Upper Michigan, I love this bill, and I love what you've done to figure out the funding for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I thank you so much for the presentation, and we'll invite people to the table here in Carson City and in Las Vegas if you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 112.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Steve Walker. I'm representing Eureka County. Eureka County is complete support of AB 112 and would like to thank Assemblyman Watts for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We are in strong support of AB 112, and this is one of our top priorities this session. As Assemblyman Watts said, this bill could open us up to a significant amount of federal funding that other western states have already begun the process of securing, so we can't be left behind. And now reports that we hit about 500 animals each year, and that costs the state about $20 million. So by passing this bill, we can save animals' lives, save humans' lives, save the state some money, and secure some federal funding. We urge the committee's support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee. For the record, my name is Rebecca Goff, and I'm the Nevada State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. On behalf of our Nevada members and those of our partner, the Humane Society Wildlife Trust, we offer our strong support of AB 112. I do have a longer statement, but for the sake of time, I'm going to submit it to the Secretary. Thank you so much, and we urge your support.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. We're here today to show our support for Assembly Bill 112, as this is one of our priority bills as well. Investing in safety of Nevadans and the wildlife on our roads is one of our is the right thing to do. Nevada must create a comprehensive plan to maintain, enhance, and restore critical migratory routes for our wildlife. The more open space and intact habitat we have for wildlife, the healthier their populations will be, and the more our outdoor recreation economy will thrive. This is a critical investment for all of us. And like Assemblywoman Dickman, I hit a deer last summer, and I never want to do that again. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Madam Chair, committee members, I'm Larry Johnson, President, Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. Nevada is actually the leader in design construction of wildlife crossings, and they have been tremendously effective in areas like Highway 93 north of Wells, I-80, and crossing the Pequot, so forth. There are tens of thousands of animals that use these crossings annually. Extremely effective in reducing wildlife mortalities as well as human conflicts. Urge you to support this. In fact, I think it's universally supported. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Reno and committee members. My name is Zoe Houghton with Tom Clark Solutions here on behalf of the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition in support of AB 112. Like other people have said, I personally haven't hit a deer, but I know many of you have probably heard of Assemblyman Ellison's stories with hitting deer. So just overall, just dithering all the previous comments and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Madam Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Carl Urquiaga, C-A-R-L-E-R-Q-U-I-A-G-A, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of AB 112. I'm a lifelong Nevadan, Nevada field representative for Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. The TRCP represents over 3,000 individuals in Nevada and over 100,000 nationwide, and our mission is to guarantee all Americans quality places to hunt and fish. According to the Nevada Department of Transportation study, more than 500 wildlife vehicle collisions occur on the state's roads annually at a cost of over $19 million to drivers and Nevada taxpayers. While Nevada has been a leader in constructing safe wildlife crossings in places like Interstate 80 and Highway 93 in northeast Nevada and Interstate 11 near Hoover Dam, there are many locations in need of similar projects. Not only do these crossings provide safe passage for wildlife on their way to and from important winter range, they also reduce accidents and property damage and save human lives. The human side of the subject hits particularly close to home for members of my family. My son-in-law's father tragically lost his life in a motorcycle deer collision on Highway 50 near Fallon almost 20 years ago. By all accounts, he was a wonderful man, a man who will never know the joy it brings to hear our granddaughters call him Papa and Grandpa, and who will never see the father his son has become. I respectfully ask you to take action to approve funding for AB 112 and ensure the safety of our state's wildlife and safety of those who travel our roads. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm sorry for the loss. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 112? Seeing none. Going to Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas that'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 112? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 112?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno and members of the committee. My name is Barry Levinson, a volunteer member of the Sierra Club Legislative Committee. On behalf of the Sierra Club and our more than 30,000 members, we are ecstatic to support Bill AB 112. As you've heard, each year, according to NDOT, more than 500 reported wildlife vehicle collisions kill over 5,000 animals and cost the state close to $20 million. AB 112 will provide $5 million in funding to identify locations and strategies to increase the number of wildlife crossings. I would just like to ditto all the previous comments and skip the rest of my testimony and just say that Sierra Club is in strong support of AB 112. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Jane Amone, and I'm the External Affairs Director for the Nature Conservancy in Nevada. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 112. For the Nature Conservancy, preserving and enhancing connectivity of habitats and migration corridors is critical to maintaining the biodiversity of this state for generations to come. Constructing strategic wildlife crossings on transportation corridors helps to achieve this goal. Wildlife crossings protect the needs of migrating species and prevent unnecessary accidents and deaths for both humans and wildlife. There is great opportunity right now to leverage federal dollars to support this important infrastructure that can help both people and nature. Thank you, Assemblyman Watts, for sponsoring this bill. We urge your support for AB 112.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City who would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 112? Seeing none, and not seeing anyone move to the table in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in the position of opposition?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that'd like to testify in the neutral position? Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Alan Janae. I'm the Director of the Nevada Department of Wildlife. We're here to testify neutral on behalf of SB 112. As many of you have heard, across America and across Nevada, there's expanding infrastructure that is challenging wildlife movement and creating vehicle collision consequences. And so, looking at results coming out of the Mule Deer Working Group in 2015, they estimated that across the United States, collisions with wildlife were causing about 200 human fatalities and costing a minimum of $1.8 million a year. Highways and increasing traffic volume and speed limits impose several impacts on wildlife, including direct mortality, physiological stress, habitat fragmentation, and loss of access to crucial seasonal ranges. The construction of wildlife crossings and associated infrastructures in areas with high incidence of deer vehicle conflicts immediately reduces collisions with deer, and the use of crossing structures by species is likely to further reduce risk to both motorists and wildlife. In 2018, the Nevada Department of Transportation completed a series of wildlife crossings and associated infrastructure across U.S. Highway 93 north of Wells to minimize deer vehicle collisions along a migration corridor for mule deer. A variety of other wildlife species have been documented using these crossings, including elk, moose, and carnivores, and the first documentation of pronghorn using an overpass in North America. During a 4-year study, about 4,500 individual deer were estimated to use the structures along Highway 93 during the fall and spring migration periods. Further annual wildlife vehicle collisions were reduced by up to 90% with targeted migration corridor, within the migration corridor. And thank you for the opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position? Seeing none, BPS, have we had anyone join us on the phone lines that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you for that. Well, as a sponsor, no closing remarks. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 112. Speaker Yeager.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. As members probably remember, under Assembly Standing Rule number 57-4, we have a 24-hour rule before we take action on a bill once we have heard it in committee. Given that we have 12 days left in session, that rule can be waived with permission of the Speaker, so I am waiving the 24-hour rule for anything that we hear today in Ways and Means so that it can be processed out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And with that, members, you heard the testimony, the presentation for Assembly Bill 112. So I'd like to move to the work session. And with that, I will accept a motion to amend and pass. I have a first from Assemblywoman Peters.
Second.
A second from Assemblywoman Backus. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to amend to pass, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously, and I'll assign that floor statement to Assemblyman Watts. Thank you. Members, we're going to go a little bit out of order, and the next bill on our agenda that we'll be hearing will be Assembly Bill 270. And we'll invite Assemblywoman Marzola to the table. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I am Assemblywoman Elaine Marzola, representing the beautiful District 21. I'm here to present Assembly Bill 270, first reprint, which provides for the licensure and regulation of anesthesiologist assistants. You have heard repeatedly this legislative session, Nevada has a severe health care provider shortage. Our goal with AB 270 is to expand safe and supervised anesthesia services for Nevada residents and patients who come from out of state. If this measure passed, Nevada will join 19 other states plus the District of Columbia in allowing highly trained AAs to work under the supervision of board-certified and licensed anesthesiologists. Assembly Bill 270 provides for the licensure and regulation of anesthesiologist assistants by the Board of Medical Examiners and the State Board of Osteopathic Medicine. The measure includes procedures for regulating the practice of AAs and for imposing discipline for violations of the governing statutes and regulations. There are 6 fiscal notes listed on Nellis. 1 from the Board of Medical Examiners, Department of Corrections, Department of Public Safety, DPS, Department of Health and Human Services, State Board of Osteopathic Medicine, and State Board of Nursing. As submitted by the boards and agencies, the fiscal notes do not state any fiscal impact on the state. Thank you, Chair, and with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and we do have the notices from the Department of Osteopathic Medicine to remove their fiscal note, and all of the other fiscal notes were $0. Members, do you have any questions for the presenter? All right, seeing none, thank you so much.
And thank you, Chair and committee members.
And we will open testimony in support of Assembly Bill 270. Good morning, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Susan Fisher with McDonald Carano speaking today on behalf of Nevada State Board of Osteopathic Medicine, Nevada State Society of Anesthesiologists, and also Nevada Orthopedic Society. All those various clients are in full support of this bill. From an economic impact to this state, you'll also note in the exhibits there is a letter submitted by a university, Nova Southeastern University, I believe it's called, and they have plans to open a school in southern Nevada to start, and potentially in northern Nevada as well, to train certified anesthesiologist assistants, PAs, and other mid-level providers. So there is a very strong positive economic impact to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 270? Seeing none, is there anyone else, anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 270? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone lines that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 270?
If you would like to testify in support of Bill 270, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 270? Seeing none and not seeing anyone move to the table, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition?
If you would like to testify in opposition on Assembly Bill 270, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And moving to the position of neutral, is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 270? Seeing none, not seeing anyone move to the table in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 270, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the presenter any closing remarks. Seeing none, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 270. Moving on. Again, taking a bill out of order, we're going to go to Assembly Bill 306 and invite Assemblyman MacArthur, Assemblywoman Torres to the table. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And you two can get started as soon as you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Richard MacArthur. I represent Assembly District 4, which is in the northwest part of Las Vegas. This morning, I'm presenting Assembly Bill 306 with my colleague, Assemblywoman Torres. It's a pretty short bill. Assembly Bill 306 requires the Secretary of State to waive the business license fee for a state business license if the applicant is an honorably discharged veteran and at least 50% of the business is owned by an honorably discharged veteran. So just a couple of quick details. We're talking about waiving about $200 per year for this license fee for all military forces and the National Guard. And this business license fee would also be waived for approximately 5 years following the initial issuance of this business license. However, we're submitting an amendment this morning that will change it from 5 years to 3 years, which will drop the original fiscal note issued by the Secretary of State's office. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Assemblywoman Torres to give us some details on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Selena Torres for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, for allowing us to present in the esteemed Ways and Means Committee today. With my colleague and in coordination with the Secretary of State's office, we have agreed to a conceptual amendment, and I have provided a copy of that to this committee as well. And it would change the amount of years from 5 years to 3 years, and then put the date, the effective date, to January 1st to give the time to the Secretary of State's office to create the systems necessary for the enforcement of this bill. What is not reflected in this amendment, but should be, was a part of our conversations, and I'm happy to add this in and resubmit it to the committee, is just that this would be a reimbursement, which is similar to the process that we have for the DMV driver's license that veterans can receive a discount on. At this time, we stand open to any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. So yes, if you could submit the additional amendment with the reimbursement. So the veteran would pay their fees and then get a check back from the Secretary of State. Okay. And then I do not have the updated fiscal note from the Secretary of State.
Assemblyman Torres, for the record, that was provided to your staff yesterday, and I believe that a graph has been, at least updated. I don't know if it's the formal fiscal note, but there is an updated chart that was provided. And if you note that fiscal note, it changes the amount. So the first year would be 842,000. The second year is about 2.5 million. Third year would be 4.2 million, et cetera.
I do have the graph. We did not receive the updated fiscal note, so if they could get that to us in addition to the additional language for the amendment, that would be great.
Will do.
Members, any questions for the presenter? Assemblyman O'Neill?
Thank you, Chair, for the time. Like the bill, just have a few questions, if I may, please. Mr. McCarthy, it's a pleasure seeing you, particularly from this side of the dais. It brings back such memories. Yes. But seriously speaking, looking at the bill, is it, it's for new startup veteran businesses, a veteran that currently has a business going, maybe is successful, been in operation for several years. Would that business qualify? I just need that clarification because I'm not sure if I'm reading it that way.
Richard MacArthur. According to the way the bill is written right now, this takes effect in January of '24.
So it would be for any business starting after that date?
That's my understanding, yes.
Is there, I was looking to see if there's somebody from the SOS, just to clarify that, but I appreciate that. That's your understanding then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Torres, for the record, I believe that somebody from the Secretary of State's office has called in. They weren't able to be here present, but I'm sure that they're happy to help answer any additional questions as well.
And there's someone at the table in Las Vegas. Are you here with the Secretary of State's office?
No, I'm here to testify in support.
Perfect. Thank you. BPS, do we have anyone from the Secretary of State's office on our telephone line that could assist with the questions from Assemblyman O'Neill?
If you would like to assist on the question, please press star 9 now to take your place, or to assist in the. Chair, there are no callers on the line to assist on the question.
Assemblyman Torres, for the record, I'm happy to circle back with the Secretary of State's office to get a response, but my understanding of this piece of legislation is it's specifically for new businesses that would be opening up.
And that's, I appreciate that, and that's the way I thought it would be. I just wanted to make sure, because it wasn't real clear to me. But I'm not an attorney either, so, and I'll call them. I'll take care of it just for, because I really do enjoy the bill and appreciate you bringing it forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. I'll ask you to take a step back, and we will call up those that are here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 306. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit, and I'm the chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council, representing the nearly 279,000 veterans in our state. And of course, we support this bill, if there was a doubt. So what we've done to our poor, especially our Guard in our state and our military in the last 20 years has been mind-numbing. People joined the Guard thinking they'd be home forever, and we've had them deployed multiple times. Some of our Guard members alone in our state, now veterans, served as many as 7 and 8 tours of duty in a combat zone. We've not experienced that as a nation in the past, and we wonder why they have a hard struggle getting started. This is a small token to help them get started in a business. I've owned a couple of businesses in different states, And I know all the paperwork that goes involved in a new business. This is another thing just to help our veterans get started in a new business. And we support this bill 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Las Vegas now for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 306.
First of all, thank you for bringing this bill, which supports veteran entrepreneurs throughout Nevada forward. My name is Sarah Johnson, and I'm the director of the Lieutenant Governor's Office of Small Business Advocacy. It's important that we remove barriers for all entrepreneurs who want to start and grow a business here in Nevada. It's also important that we support and honor our veterans. By reducing the cost for veterans starting a small business, the state will be joining other organizations that assist veteran entrepreneurs, like the National Veteran Business Development Council, the VA Business Accelerator, the SBA, and the SBDC, among many others. These organizations provide valuable access to funding and training to our nation's veterans who want to start and grow a business. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak today in support of AB 306.
Thank you so much for joining us. Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City or in Las Vegas to provide testimony in support. BPS, can we go to the phone lines for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 306?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 306, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Gabriel DeCara, Chief Deputy Secretary of State. Apologies for the technical mishap. I am actually presently sitting on the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency board meeting as well. So thank you so much for your patience. I know this is testimony in support. However, I am available to answer any questions regarding our office or the fiscal note.
Thank you. We did have a question from Assemblyman O'Neill. I'll allow him to go ahead and ask you that question now that we have you on the line.
Thank you, Chair. In reading the bill, I just wanted to make sure that I'm reading it properly. This is for new startup veteran businesses. That was the question.
Yeah, it is for any new business entities that are created, I believe, with the conceptual amendment on or after January 1st, 2024. So it would not apply to current veteran-owned businesses. It would only be for new businesses. Part of the reason is that the state does not currently track that information as a required question when a business is being created. And we don't have a mechanism in place to even identify which businesses are veteran-owned at present.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Seeing no other questions for you, BPS, do we have any other callers on the line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 306?
Chair, there are no additional callers on the line to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City or in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 306? Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. And knowing that there's no one else on the phone line, we will move to the neutral position. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position of Assembly Bill 306? Seeing none. Not seeing anyone go to the table in Las Vegas. BPS, I am assuming we still have no one on the line to provide testimony on Assembly Bill 306. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you so much. So the presenters of the bills, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you. Somebody had messaged me and just asked, if we could talk a little bit, someone notorious for the record, about the impetus of the bill. And this bill kind of started out a dare. Somebody dared me to become friends with Councilwoman MacArthur, and here we are. And somebody dared us to find a policy we could work on together. And I think this is good public policy. I hope it's something we can consider today.
And thank you, Madam Chair and Committee, for considering this bill. I think this bill is a good gesture for our veterans who have protected our country And I also think that this bill will help and stimulate the economy and help small businesses. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 306. And we will apologize to Assemblywoman Marzola forgetting she did have 2 bills on the agenda for today. And I believe you are presenting Assembly Bill 376, correct?
I am.
Thank you. So we'll close the hearing on 306 and we'll open the hearing on Assembly Bill 376.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning again to you and to all the committee members. My name is still Elaine Marzola, and I still represent Assembly District 21 in Clark County. I am happy to be here again to present Assembly Bill 376, which establishes provisions governing paid family leave. This bill allows an eligible employee to take up to 8 weeks of paid family leave at 50% of their regular pay wages, to bond with their newborn or newly adopted child, to recover from or undergo treatment for a serious illness, to care for a seriously ill member of an immediate family, or to attend a military deployment of an immediate family member. The fiscal note prepared by the Division of Human Resource Management, DHRM, requires $18,154 to cover programming hours to update the payroll system to handle new paid leave codes. The legislation would require 200 programming hours at a rate of $90.77 per hour. And with that, Chair, we are ready to stand for questions, if there are any.
Thank you so much. So the only fiscal note, because all the others were zeros, is the $18,154 in FY24, and then no other fees in addition to that, correct?
Elaine Marzola for the record. That is correct, Chair.
Perfect. Members, any questions to the presenter? Seeing none, I'll ask you to step back. And again, I'll apologize. I thought I put my bills in order by presenter.
No problem, Chair. I actually love sitting here and watching you guys work.
We'll invite anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 376 to the table.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Carter Bundy with AFSCME. We want to thank the sponsor and the Treasurer's Office for bringing AB 376. All too often when people do have family emergencies, they burn through their sick leave, they even burn through all their vacation time. This doesn't replace all of their income, it's only half, but it's a real lifeline to people who are struggling at home with a serious crisis, so we hope you'll support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Kent Irvin, ERVIN, Nevada Faculty Alliance, here in support of AB 376 as amended to include unclassified as well as our classified colleagues. Our various NSHE institutions have different policies for how they handle family and medical leave, and this will provide extra flexibility, particularly for those on semester-long teaching assignments or in faculty probationary timelines, which are strict, and that's well worth the fiscal cost. I would just like to point out that because of the exemptions in NRS 396.251 and 396.7953, graduate student assistants, postdoctoral researchers, medical residents, and Desert Research Institute contract and sponsored research employees are not included in NRS 284 unless otherwise provided by the Board of Regents. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City to provide testimony and support. We'll go to Las Vegas, and I'm not seeing anyone at the table there. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 376?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 376, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jamel Nance. I'm the Director of Prenatal to 3 Initiatives with the Children's Advocacy Alliance. Today, I am testifying in support of AB 376, establishing provisions governing paid family leave for certain state employees. Paid family leave is a critical component to support families financially and emotionally during the most important life transitions. Looking from the scope of an early childhood lens, we know that research shows by providing parents with time and financial security to stay home and bond with new children, state family leave programs can improve the economic security of the family and keep families engaged in the workforce. So we know how important that is. Paid family leave also supports children and parental health and well-being. And so by implementing this bill for certain state employees, it is a step in the right direction that we hope will become common practice throughout various sectors in the state. Today, we urge your support of Assembly Bill 376. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair Monroe Moreno and committee members. For the record, my name is Caitlin Gatchalian, CAITLIN, and I'm the Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. On behalf of the American Heart Association, I would like to express our support for AB 376. The American Heart Association supports policies that ensure state employees have access to paid family and medical leave programs that provide sufficient paid time off to manage significant personal or family life events and needs. The American Heart Association understands that people need sufficient time to recover from serious medical conditions without worrying about covering expenses. Paid leave policies lead to healthier babies and birthing parents. The United States currently has no guaranteed paid family leave, family and medical leave, and access to paid family and medical leave is lowest amongst workers who need it most. Far too many people are forced to sacrifice their savings or lose their jobs altogether when they need time to care for themselves or their family. The American Heart Association supports AB 376 because we believe that state workers deserve to savor the joys and weather the inevitable crises that life delivers without worrying about how to pay the bill. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers on the line at this time.
Thank you. Then we will move to the position of opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 376? Seeing none. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in the position of opposition on 376?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 376? Seeing none, and not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, and knowing that there's no one on the phone lines currently at this time, I will ask if there's anyone in the audience from DHRM that could just speak to the fiscal note and let us know if you're able to absorb that cost. Good morning.
Good morning, Daniel Marlowe, Administrator with the Administrative Services Division, Department of Administration, here on behalf of DHRM. That is a hard cost that we do not currently have in our budget that we would have to pay for the programming costs. Unfortunately, we cannot remove that at this time.
Thank you so much for that. We'll add that information to our file. I appreciate it. Any closing words? All right. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 376. Okay, members, we received permission from the speaker to process some bills today, so we will open the work session on Assembly Bill 376. And as you just heard from DHRM in their testimony, their division is not able to absorb the cost into their department. So with the permission of the presenter of the bill, the sponsor of the bill, I'd like to add in that cost, amend that cost into the bill so that the department has that fee. Members, any questions on the amendment that I'm proposing?
To amend the UPass.
So with that, we have a first from Assemblywoman Hadigi and a second from Assemblywoman Bacchus to amend and do pass as amended. Any discussion? Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just with the amendment, what is the dollar amount that's being appropriated?
The dollar amount was on the fiscal note and as presented by the presenter in her hearing, which is $18,154. You're welcome. Assemblywoman Dignan.
I just wanted you to clarify the amendment. I didn't hear it. So it's just to add the funds. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, and we will give that floor statement to Assemblywoman Marzola. And just as a clarification, that would be general funds that would be added to that bill to cover the cost. Thank you. So moving on to the next item on our agenda, Assembly Bill 321.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Max Carter with Assembly District 12. Assembly Bill 321 is about grid reliability. It was heard in Assembly, Commerce and Labor. Several of the members are sitting on this board. And it passed unanimously. And if we want to talk about the policy, it's about transitioning away from conductive foil balloons, moving towards where the industry is already going to non-conductive, and also about a response to the rising incidents of attacks and sabotage on our grid system, so enhancing the penalties for that. But and if there's any questions on the policy, we have representatives from NV Energy, the Rural Electric Co-op, and I didn't see them here, but also we worked with the Retail Association on implementing these policies, and all of the stakeholders came together on the policy. On the fiscal notes, the Department of Public Safety, they had a 0 fiscal note. The other one is Public Utilities Commission of $7,493, but that cost would be absorbed by their mill rates, their mill assessments on ratepayers, so it would have no impact on the taxpayers or general fund. And that's my presentation.
And you answered my question in your presentation. Would they be able to absorb the cost? Thank you so much. So does this mean I will not be able to use any more foil balloons at my birthday parties?
Max Carter, yes, you will be. They will just be non-conductive foil balloons as the industry moves towards that technology. So yes, that is why you don't see the big clown lobby here today opposing this bill.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Assemblyman Hafen.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Full disclosure, I am regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, but I did have a question on the mill assessments. Are the mill assessments going to only be on the power companies, or will they be assessed on all regulated utility companies?
You know, that one is an answer I don't know. I'm not sure if she's on the line. Carolyn Turner with the Rural Co-op Association is the one who investigated that, and if she's on the line, I'm sure she could answer that.
And if there's anyone in the audience from the PUC that may be able to answer that question, I invite you to the table. Not seeing any.
Max Carter, I will work on getting that answer for you. I apologize for not knowing it.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? See none. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll ask you to take a step back and invite anyone to the table that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 321. Good morning.
I'm Will Adler with Solicitor State Government Relations, representing IBW 1245. We're in full support of Senate Bill 321 and the safety additions at the end of the bill and all the implications, including the changing out of foil balloons for other similar foil balloons. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See no one else here in Carson City. Is there anyone in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone step up to the table in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 321?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone here to like to provide testimony in opposition for Assembly Bill 321? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 321? Seeing none. And BPS, I'm assuming there is still no one on the phone line that would like to provide testimony on Assembly Bill 321. Is that correct?
Chair, that is correct.
Thank you so much. And we'll come back to Carson City. If there's anyone here that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 321, seeing none and not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, and knowing that we do not have anyone on the phone lines to provide testimony in the neutral position, I'll ask the sponsor if you have any closing remarks. Seeing none, then we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 321. And we thank you for joining us today. With that, we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 345.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. I am Venetia Considine, Assemblywoman for Assembly District 18, and I am here this morning to talk to you about AB 345. AB 345 is a bill concerning real estate investment trusts and their location with an exemption inside the commerce tax. When the commerce tax was created, an exemption for REITs, real estate investment trusts, was included, and there is an exemption for up to exemption from paying the commerce tax, but then there is an exemption to the exemption. So in going down a rabbit hole on real estate investment trusts, I had issues trying to find out whether or not this provision within the commerce tax has any effect at all. So I brought this bill initially to talk about real estate investment trusts. There are over 7,400 parcels of land in the state of Nevada that are owned by REITs. As this bill has come along, the only entities that have reached out to me about removing or even talking about real estate investment trusts are entities that are paying the commerce tax under the exemption to the exemption. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is to take this out because at this point, I have not found anyone that this provision under the commerce tax affects. However, there is a fiscal note that was brought by the Department of Taxation. It will need to draft regulations, and they anticipate an increase in appeals that will require the Deputy Attorney General's assistance. That cost allocation plan is $25,376 in FY24 and $12,749 in FY25, and they foresee expenses will not reoccur after FY 2025. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. So after setting up the cost allocation plan, there would only have a fee in FY24, FY25, but no future bienniums.
Venetia Consign, for the record, yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And then if this bill passes as written, it would have a positive effect on the state's general fund budget, correct?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. That is unknown. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring the bill, because we don't know if the exemption has, the exemption and the exemption to the exemption has, taking that out would have any change at all, or if we do determine that there are a lot of real estate investment trusts in Nevada that would be subject to, say, taxation under the commerce tax if they're bringing in more than $4 million in property rent or the things that real estate investment trusts specialize in.
Thank you so much. Members, questions? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Do you know why they were originally excluded or what the history behind that was?
Thank you, Assemblywoman Kasama, through the chair. That's a great question, and that was one of the things when I started learning about this, I tried to find out, and to this time, I have absolutely no answer for you because I cannot find any documented information as to why it was included.
Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. I'm just curious, is this going to be hard to track? Is it just going to be self-reported?
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Dixon, through the chair. Dickman through the chair. Venetia Consign, for the record. I have spoken with some folks in fiscal about it, and they're prepared to figure out how to track it. I don't think it would be difficult because these are federally registered entities.
Thank you, and thanks, Chair.
Thank you. And your answer to that question brought up another question I have. Do we know how many of these are Nevada-based businesses, or are these businesses out of the state of Nevada but making money here in Nevada?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. Venetia Considine, for the record. From the information that I can find, out of the 7,400 and change that I found, there was 2 that are based out of Nevada.
Thank you for that. Interesting.
Now, you made me think of a question. So the 2 that are based in Nevada, are they exempt too because of this?
Assemblywoman Dickman, thank you for the question. Through the chair, Venetia Consign, for the record. One has approached me and explained to me that they are paying the commerce tax under the exemption to the exemption through the way that the exemption to the exemption is listed, but the other one, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Assemblyman Haven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I thought I heard you say that there's currently no REITs in the state of Nevada that would be subject to the commerce tax. Did I mishear you?
Thank you, Assemblyman Hafen, through the chair. We cannot say whether or not they are subject to this because, first, there are over 7,400 real estate investment trust parcels in the state. In order to pay the commerce tax, they would have to have revenue that over $4 million. I don't know how many of those 7,400 would meet that threshold. We're talking about cell towers. We're talking about real estate, rental, swath of different real estate investment trusts. So I don't know how many are. In creating this bill, and bringing this up, what I expected were people who were paying or not paying this tax, or paying this tax, or any real estate investment companies to sort of come out and have this conversation about what they are, where they're going, how they're expanding, who is paying. The entities that have reached out to me have told me that they are paying it. They're paying the commerce tax under the exemption to the exemption. So removing NRS 363C 020 Section 201, removing that wouldn't change the folks who are paying the commerce tax because they're paying it under the exemption to the exemption. So there are ones that are paying. Does that answer your question?
Yes, kind of. Quick follow-up. So if I'm understanding correctly, the ones that would be subject to the commerce tax are already paying the commerce tax, and this is more or less just kind of trying to clean up the language so it simplifies the statute so it doesn't have to be an exemption to then require somebody to pay something.
Assemblyman Hafen, through the chair, thank you for the question. From the information I have, yes, but I think there's a lot of information we don't know because we are not currently tracking real estate investment trusts that are based out of Nevada that have property and are making income in Nevada.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? See none. We thank you so much for the presentation. I'll invite you to take a seat back, and we will invite, I will ask the Department of Taxation, if you're in the room, if you could just speak on your fiscal note. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yvonne Navarez-Goodson, Chief Deputy for the Department of Taxation. And with me here, we also have our ASO4, Joy Grimmer, who can also address any questions you might have on our fiscal note. But we did include the fiscal note for our DAG allocation. Given the technical nature of this particular amendment, we are concerned that we will be receiving both advisory opinions. We will potentially have to update our regulations, and with that, we'll need the assistance of our Deputy Attorney Generals to assist us in that. So that's why we included the DAG allocation.
And as it's written, you have a cost of $25,376 in FY23. Do you expect those that plan you'd start working on it then, or?
For the record, Joy Grimmer, Department of Taxation, ASO4. So I want to clarify on this actually. The cost allocation for the Attorney General's office is usually billed 2 years behind. So this was just put on here to represent that increase in appeals and such. It wouldn't actually be realized until a future biennium for us. And so we could move that $38,125 to a future biennium and have nothing in 24 and 25. We just wanted to be represented that there would be an additional workload with the Attorney General's office.
Thank you so much. That's what I wanted to get on the record. I appreciate it. I think that's all. I think any other questions for taxation? All right, thank you so much. And we will invite to the table anyone who would like to provide testimony for Assembly Bill and support for Assembly Bill 345. Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 345?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you for that. We will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 345? See none. Not seeing anyone move to the table in Las Vegas. And if I heard correctly, we have no one on the phone lines, correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you so much. So coming back to Carson City, is there anyone here that would like to provide testimony in neutral for Assembly Bill 345? Seeing none and not seeing anyone at our table in Las Vegas, and knowing we do not have anyone on our phone line, I'll ask, do you have any closing remarks? All right. Thank you so much for being here. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 345. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 299. Good morning, Assemblyman Yeager. Whenever you're ready to start.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas, and I have with me at the table one of my interns in the leadership office this session, Geneva Martin. She helped present the bill in the Government Affairs Committee, I believe. Yes, Government Affairs Committee. So if you have questions on policy, she can help with that as well. I was just going to give you a very high-level overview of what the bill does and then obviously talk about the fiscal impact. This bill creates a Nevada Medal of Distinction. The idea behind this is we don't really have anything that we do as a state on a state level to recognize individuals who have provided exemplary service to the state. So there's essentially two parts to the bill. This would be housed in the governor's office. The first part is an honors board, and that basically is a board that comes up with the regulations around how this program would work, what the criteria would be, to come up with a design of whatever the award or medal would be. So that would be a new board that lives in the governor's office. And then in addition, in Section 4 of the bill, we have the Awards and Honors Board. And the idea there is there would be a new group constituted every year with appointees, the governor, legislative appointees, and Supreme Court appointees. And that board would be the one tasked with nominating folks for the award every year. Someone who is living would get the award, and there would be a posthumous award given each year as well. So those, I believe it's 9 members of the selection committee. I could be wrong about that, but 9 members. So they each bring forward a nomination to the group for each of the 2 awards, for the living and the not living. And then that board gets together no less than 7 days before the award ceremony, and they basically talk amongst each other and figure out who they're going to give the awards to that year. And that, again, that actual honors board would be reconstituted every year. Folks could be reappointed, but there is also a provision in there that if we have unified government, meaning that the legislature and the governor's office are in control of the same party, then minority members of the legislature would make appointments so that there's balance there. And to answer your question, no, elected officials are not eligible to receive the award. We didn't want to have that situation. So that's how it functions. I guess the only other thing I'll mention there is we have a staggered schedule where during a legislative session year, the award ceremony would be here in Carson City, and then during the off years, the interim years, it would be somewhere in Clark County, so we'd have a north and a south component. That is what the bill does. There is a fiscal note on the bill that is 0 from the Office of the Governor, but I did want to let folks know, if I could just check my email here. This was emailed. We had some very productive discussions with Ms. Stevenson, the director of the Governor's Office of Finance. She did send an email last night, very late at 11:45 p.m., so she is working just as hard as we are these days, and she indicated, I wanted to let you know that the Governor's Office does not see a fiscal impact on Assembly Bill 299. I'm not sure how you want me to remove it from the system, as I know it's coming up for a committee, coming up in committee tomorrow morning. So I do believe with that, there is not an impact beyond what can be absorbed. And then I guess the last thing I'll note, I forgot to mention this during my presentation, on page 3 of the bill, lines 9 through 11, what we do is allow the board to accept grants, gifts, donations, to be able to carry out the functions of the board. So we believe that we would be able to raise enough money to be able to fund the minimal expense of coming up with a design, actually producing the medal or the award, and some travel expense that might be necessary if folks are going to meet in person, although the bill does allow remote meetings among the different members. So with that, I've probably said more than enough and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, Madam Chair or members of the committee.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And we do have a question. First will come from Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So would this board, the appointees to this board, would they just be regular citizens, or could they be anybody? Could they be legislators appointed to the board?
Steve Yeager, for the record. So, want to make a couple distinctions. There's the yes. There's 2 different things that are created in the bill. The first is like actually the Nevada Award and Honors board, and that's the one where those folks are appointed by the governor. There's 5 of them, right? And they're the ones who sort of come up with the structure of the program. And then there's like the selection committee. So to get to your question, there are prescribed who makes the appointments, but there's not a restriction. I mean, it could be an elected official appointed to the actual, either one of those things. Could be appointed to the governor board or to the selection board. There's no prohibition against that, but those people would not be able to actually receive the award. And I think, just sort of by way of reference, when we talked about the Honors and Selection Board, because that's the one who actually makes the nominations, what we tried to do is get all 3 branches of government involved there. So you see governor appointees, legislative appointees, judicial branch appointees. So like everything else in the state, sometimes it's hard to find people who want to serve on these, but my hope would be, that every person making an appointment would think about what the role of the appointee is, and it's not just show up and have a meeting. Like you need to actively investigate and come forward with recommendations, but that's a long way of saying there's no prohibition against that as the bill's written right now.
Thank you. This is pretty cool.
Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll ask you two to take a step back, and we will invite to the table anyone that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 299. Seeing no one here in Carson City. I'm not seeing anyone go to the table in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 299?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 299? Seeing none, and not seeing anyone go to the table in Las Vegas, BPS. As I understand it, we have no callers on the phone line at this time, correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to the neutral position. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 299 here in Carson City? Seeing none, and not seeing any movement in Las Vegas, and knowing we have no one on the phone line, we'll ask the presenters if you have any closing remarks. Okay, they have none, so we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 299. And thank you for joining us today. And we will open the hearing on our last bill on our agenda for today, and that is 239. Good morning, Assemblywoman Hodeggy. You can start at any time.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Assemblywoman Sandra Hodeggy, and I represent Assembly District 41. But I am here today on behalf of the Interim Sunset Subcommittee of the Legislative Commission as Chair of the Sunset Subcommittee. The Sunset Subcommittee is charged during the interim to review boards and commissions and to come up with decisions whether we are going to terminate, continue, or transition the board into another board. And I know we are a money committee, so I won't go over the policy decisions that were made during the Sunset Subcommittee because I'm specifically here to cover 4 sections of Assembly Bill 239, which are sections 1, 2, 15, and 16 that address the Merit Award Board. These sections respectively create the Merit Award account in the State General Fund, remove language prohibiting an award to be paid out of the State General Fund, and makes an appropriation of $3,000 to fund the administration of the board. The bill also makes an additional appropriation of $25,000 to provide funding for merit awards to state employees from the Merit Award Program. I understand we do not discuss policy in the Money Committee, but for reference, the Sunset Subcommittee recommended these legislative actions because representatives of the board reported that the board wasn't really functioning.
it did not have the funds for its operations, nor could it fund employee awards. And we all know that the best people to be able to identify efficiencies within an agency are those very employees who work within the agency. And so the merit award was designed to encourage employees to, look at their agency, look at their division, and see if there's ways that they could save their division or their agency money. And if they were, then they were given an award, which would encourage them to do so. The board came before us and said, we haven't used this award in a very long time because we don't have the money to pay the board to do this, and we don't have the money to actually award state employees. And so instead of sunsetting the board during the interim, what we decided was to add a small money in the form of an appropriation to give the board the $3,000 to be able to meet and review these proposals from state employees, and then to fund it with $25,000 to be able to give state employees the award for identifying these efficiencies. And if none of the money is used at the end of the fiscal year, that money does revert back to the general fund. With that, Madam Chair, I am open for questions.
Thank you so much. I remember hearing this, I think our first session here, and there were people doing the work and they didn't have the money to reward them. So thank you for bringing this piece of legislation. Members, any questions? See none, thank you so much for the presentation, and we'll invite anyone to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 329.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Trey Abney representing the Nevada Broadcasters Association. Just real quickly, we want to thank the Majority Leader for bringing this bill and her subcommittee. Specifically, we support Section 4, which changes the requirements for the statewide alert system committee. They've had a struggle staffing that committee, and putting people on that committee. So this helps us do that to this very important body. So we thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in support? Seeing none. Going to Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 339? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony on Assembly Bill 339?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 239? Seeing none. Not seeing anyone move to the table in Las Vegas and BPS. As I understand it, we still have no one joining us on the phone line, correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you so much. Then we will go to the neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in the neutral on Assembly Bill 239? Seeing none and not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, we'll ask the presenter of the bill, do you have any closing remarks? Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 239. And that brings us to our last item on our agenda, and that is public comment. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide public comment on? Seeing none? Not seeing anyone now in Las Vegas for public comment in BPS. I'm assuming we still have no one on our phone lines. Is that correct?
Chair, that would be correct.
Thank you. So members, we got through our whole agenda for the day. If anything does come up later, we may come back to ways. So just know that that could happen. But for now, we are adjourned.
Adjourned or recess? Recess.
We're going to recess, not adjourn. We'll recess. Yes.